consider how to have access to the members' data in the list. So far, we have done front and back only. So the idea is as follows. So we have a list object, which has a head and a tail pointer, and all the data are linked together. So it's data, 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 and then it has a next member, nothing, and then it has a previous pointer to the previous node. The very first node, the previous is null. So this is a head and this is a tail there. So this is node structure. In traversing the linked nodes, we have another object called the iterator. So iterator is another object which has a current position in the linked list. Suppose we are at the second node, this one, then this pointer points to this one. So this one name is the current position, and then this iterator has a pointer to the list container itself. So container is a storage. So list container is there. So iterator has basically two pointers where you are at the node, and then a container, the list object. And then iterator has a next function and then moves to the next node in the link. In the previous function, it goes towards the head, so going backwards and pointing to the previous node and so on. So using this iterator, we can read the data at the current location using get function and the like. So let's define iterator class. In general, you can have this idea of iterator for any container type like a stack and queue and the like. So in C++ standard library, iterator is defined as an inner class of a corresponding container like list and stack and queue and so on. But here, for our convenience, I'm going to create as an independent separate class. So let's give a name as a list iterator .h, and then list iterator.cpp for implementation. Pragma once, class name is a list iterator there. So basically a private member is to current position of the node, and then list container, which is a list pointer array pointer. So we need to include node.h and list.h. We need to do so. And there's a public member constructor there. So let's implement up to here. So .cpp include list iterator.h, list iterator constructor. Basically, we are going to initialize post null ptr and the container null ptr as well, and iostream because of null pointer there. So we have basically defined what we need as an iterator, and then we need to implement a few more things to use that. In make file, we need to add a list iterator dot o, list iterator dot o. Then we need to compile list iterator dot o is a list iterator dot cpp, list iterator dot h, and the list iterator includes node and list as well. So we need a node.h, list.h as well. G++, compile only, debug symbol, list iterator dot cpp is there. So let's compile to check any syntax errors. So we are ready to implement iterator ones. So how do we use iterator is something like this. So we need to first include list iterator class definition. Then we are going to use something like this. So list iterator, let's call it iterator it, we get from corresponding list and then have a begin function. So from the container list, as we call begin function, we create the iterator object, and that points to the very first node. So that's the begin function. So in list.h, we need to give a list iterator class return value, begin function, and const. So that's what we need. And the list iterator, we need to include that list iterator. So begin function will be list.cpp, list iterator, list begin function is to create first list iterator create list iterator object, and then initialize the position is the very first one. So it.position is head of the current list, and then container is this current list. This is a list implementation. So position, when you return iterator object, that iterator object returned should have a container is pointing to current list object, which is this part, and then position is the very first head node is there. We have error because this is some private access list iterator. Those are private members, so we need to declare friend class list. So list is a friend of list iterator, so that private access is removed, error is gone. But here another one is the assignment. Left hand side it.container is list pointer type, and this keyword, this is a const type. So keyword, this is const type, this is a non-const type, so we have a conflict there. So in container list iterator, we need to declare the container as a const so that we can assign this variable into this one. Then that error should go away there. Then in main application, we get this iterator. Then from the iterator, like integer, and from the iterator we can call get function, and the get function reads the data from the node that is being pointed by the iterator. Iterator is at the very first node, so the get function is to read from the iterator position. So in iterator, let's now give a get function, and then iterator.cpp list iterator get function is a return position data is there. Okay. And the data is a private member, so list the iterator, we need to declare in node.h, we need to declare friend class list iterator. So private access allowed. Then this private access should be okay. And so far, let's compile the program to see the syntax errors or semantic errors. Make. Then the first error is when list iterator.h, which is included from list.h. So list.h at line 3, we include list iterator.h. So list iterator.h is included, and then at line 8, the unknown type list. Here, what it says is as follows. This is being included from list. So we are going to define list class where I need a list iterator, which is used here. So list iterator, as I go there, it uses list. So list is not defined yet, but it's being used. So that is when you include like node.h. Node.h is already defined, and then we are using that. Then there is no problem. But here is a cyclic, recursively including. When you define list, I include the list iterator, but list iterator is not defined yet, and the like. So it's something like a cyclic dependencies there. And then to break the cyclic dependency, here we need to declare that list iterator is a class. So class list iterator is there. This is called forward declaration. What it means is that list iterator is not completely defined, but I need to use that to complete the current class definition. Then saying to the compiler that list iterator is a class, it will be available later. So that's called the forward declaration. And then onto the list iterator, we need to do the same thing, class list. So do forward declaration too. So that list iterator and list those two, some cyclic dependencies broken there. Make all compile done, and in main program, let's set a breakpoint here. Then let's run the start the debug. There, step over, n is 1, so n is the only data there. So test one more. So at this moment, list m has only one single data, 1. Now let's do push front 99 there. Then the very front is 99. Terminal, compile, and start debug. Then step over, n is 99. So get function works fine.